Direct admission is an opportunity for colleges to identify students who have the academic qualifications that are appropriate for their school and their programs, and in essence say ahead of time, you fit our criteria. Would you like to consider us? So in essence, for a first generation student, for a student whose perhaps self-esteem around their high school records suggests maybe they don't think there's a college for them, hearing from colleges that we want you is a very different, I think, approach than simply general emails that colleges send, come visit, come apply. This is saying we're already validating you're a fit for us academically. We'd like you to learn more about us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MIFA podcast. My name is Jonathan Hughes. That was a snippet of the interview that we recorded for this show today, and we talked about direct admissions. What is that? Well, it's something that came to our attention about a year or two ago. We started getting calls from students saying that they had received letters from a particular college looking as though they had already been admitted without having applied. And so in recent years, more colleges have adopted this practice of direct admissions, which is essentially taking a more proactive approach to court students. Now, what does this mean for students? How do colleges identify these students? What's the process like from there? Is there a catch? Well, we're going to talk about all of this with our guest on the show today, who is a representative from a college who practices direct admission. So we'll learn all about it and how he feels that this can benefit both colleges and students to find a good fit. So I'll be back with the wrap-up, but for now, let's get to it and let our guest introduce himself.
My name is Chris Lydon. I'm the Vice President for Undergraduate Enrollment at Regis College in Weston, Massachusetts. I've been there here about 6 months, so it's a new place for me. Though I've been in higher education for a little over 40 years. My entire career has been in Catholic higher education, starting at my alma mater, Providence College. I graduated, spent the first 5 years in the admission office there, and the career kind of took off from there. Found it was the right fit for me professionally. I've had an opportunity to be in leadership positions at a variety of places. I returned to Providence eventually as the Associate VP and Dean of Admission, where I was there for over 14 years. And then was able to move into vice presidential positions at Stonehill, the Catholic University of America, and now I've returned to my home base in New England and have come back to Regis College. So get to stay in Catholic higher education, get to live in my house in Rhode Island, and carry on my career. Done admission work all these years. I've always still had a recruitment territory. I'm still an admission counselor and will service applicants as a first reader, as a high school visitor, and things like that, which is frankly the best part of the job. And over time got very involved in work with financial aid offices. And so for over 30 years, had direct responsibility for financial aid as well as admission, and did student accounts and billing. I did graduate admission at different places, but my heart is in undergraduate enrollment. So Regis is a great fit for me, and it serves a great population. And I'm really thrilled to be part of their community.
Congratulations on the new job. I didn't realize you were quite so new back at Regis.
You can be old and you can be a rookie at the same time. So that's me, I think.
Yeah, me too. And I've been at the same job for many years, but I feel like a rookie for sure. We're here to talk today about direct admission. So can you just tell folks exactly what direct admission is and how does a prospective student experience that?
Sure. So direct admission, some may have heard it called reverse or flipped admission. It's basically turning the process around. If you think about traditional admission, students submit an application, submit their essay, recommendations, transcripts, of course, and after a certain amount of time, they get a letter or a portal and an invite to check and see their decision and see if they've been admitted to an institution. Direct admission is an opportunity for colleges to identify students who have the academic qualifications that are appropriate for their school and their programs, and in essence say ahead of time, you fit our criteria. Would you like to consider us? So in essence, for a first generation student, for a student whose perhaps self-esteem around their high school records suggests maybe they don't think there's a college for them, hearing from colleges that we want you is a very different, I think, approach than simply general emails that colleges send, come visit, come apply. This is saying we're already validating you're a fit for us academically. We'd like you to learn more about us. So to a degree, I think it's a confidence builder, particularly for students who may wonder whether there's a college for them. There's so much to demystify about the college admission process, and so much that seems scary and can be a barrier. And if your parents haven't gone to college, if you're at a school with a 300-to-1 counselor to student ratio, how do you get the affirmation of what's available to you? So I think part of what's behind the philosophy of direct admission is the opportunity for students to see colleges saying you can be a fit here in a very real way.
What does a student who gets a direct admissions letter saying that you could be a fit at Regis College, for example, um, what do they need to do then?
So like everything else in college admission, it depends. It depends what kind of direct admission program they're in. We are in 3 pilot programs this year. The primary one is with the Common Application. The Common App established a pilot program a couple of years ago. They expanded it, and we joined in this year, which gives us access to students who have Common App accounts. We have some information about them because they're in the Common App. We're tied to Massachusetts only, and it's specifically for first-gen students. So it's again to serve a population for whom affirmation and eliminating barriers can help them with their college process as far as that's concerned. So if we connect with a student through the Common App, basically their next step is to add us to their Common App lists. And then because the Common App already exists, they just have to press the button and their application gets to us. So the Common App is our primary direct admission program. There are several others. They're more driven by outside organizations. An organization called EAB has a platform called Concourse. Niche.com, which has a very large database of high school students searching for colleges, has a direct admission program. There's another direct admission program with an organization called College Vine. So these are all different types of organizations that have student data, and they've invited colleges and universities to get access to that data for a fee, and to have the opportunity to identify criteria where then those organizations will push out to students, hey, school A, school B says you meet their direct admission criteria, often including a baseline scholarship amount. Same is true for the Common App. So not only do they hear that they're admitted, but based on the criteria that an institution establishes, we might say, not only are you admissible to Regis College, but you fit a minimum scholarship category of $15,000, $20,000, $22,000. So we're also trying to address immediately, and we're going to help you pay for college. So in all these different platforms, it's both the invitation to be admitted, and here's a baseline scholarship amount that's based on academic ability, not yet based on financial need as far as that's concerned. So if you're a niche, if you're in College Vine, if you're on this EAB Concourse platform, you get an invitation told that you're, Regis College, and we're not in all of these, but just as an example, Regis College says you're qualified for admission at a scholarship level of this. If you're interested, do this. And typically there's a portal, there's a form that the students complete, so we get their basic background information. And of course, they do have to upload a transcript to verify that what we learned about them through a profile is backed up by their actual high school transcript. So that basically is, it's a streamlined process, certainly, but it's not a blank check. There is a verification that what the student built in their profile that made us interested is backed up by a transcript that reflects the work we need to see to be successful in the program they want to study. In my experience, very, very limited experience, obviously, because we're new into the pilot, students are pretty good about building their profiles. And so, we're not seeing students come to us through direct admission where, nope. What we saw, we have to say, sorry, it doesn't actually work as far as that's concerned.
How long has Regis been doing direct admissions?
So before me last year, through that EAB Concourse platform, Regis did a small pilot in the international market space, trying to get some additional visibility in international spaces. So we did a pilot with them last year, just on the international side. We probably identified 40, no, probably not quite that many, 25 to 30 students who met criteria that was a fit for us. Of those, 7 or 8 raised their hand and completed the process. None of them
Mm,
ultimately chose us.
mm,
Again, small pilot, really there's no harm to us if, in terms of the opportunity to introduce ourselves, they weren't going to enroll at us if we didn't have direct admission. At least we got ourselves in their conversation, I think, as far as that's concerned. And this year will be, really the big test. We're in the concourse global one. Concourse has a domestic one, which we went into as well. We are doing a partnership with Niche. And then those are relatively small in total. um, I think we barely made about 100 offers of admission through those portals. But the Common App one is a much larger one, just because they have so many student records. And even though we're limited to first gen students in Massachusetts, which actually is a niche that we serve really, really well already,
mm.
we've seen several hundred students come into the Regis applicant pool through the Common App with that direct admission tag already in place. And I think that one of the things we need to learn as we get a chance to assess this at the end of the cycle, some of those students had us on their list anyway. And so there's a
Mm.
little bit of a chicken or the egg we're going to have to learn about. Did they definitely apply to us because they heard they got the encouragement of direct admission, or were they going to apply to us anyway? We're
Right.
going to have to unwrap this at the end of the process. But obviously, until students make their college decisions for this year, this is an open question until we see yield at the end of the enrollment process in this cycle.
This is the first year that you're doing it. Do you think that whatever's going on in financial aid, however you want to categorize that, what impact do you think that's had on this year? And then just some of the student reactions that you've received. What have some of the reactions been?
I would say our early reaction is, a little bit of surprise, because this is still relatively new across the board, and certainly students aren't getting tens and tens of direct admission offers regardless of platform. So a little bit of surprise, and is it really that easy? And yes, as long as you send us a transcript, that kind of thing. That's about as much as we know at this stage. Where we are right now, coming up on March 1, we've probably admitted 80% or so of the total number of students we're going to admit for this year. So we still have, we're having a pretty good application year. So, we are still reading applications that have come in to us organically from that perspective. And within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be at about the 96, 97% of all the admits we're going to have for this year. And then, of course, yield season is fully underway, typically leading to May 1 and students making their enrollment decisions. And that's where you take the deep breath and you say, okay, well, here we are in FAFSA world. And what does that really mean for this year? So first of all, I think that I mentioned the scholarship part for direct admission. Certainly, institutions who are doing this intend to provide these students with financial aid in the same fashion they would provide financial aid to any other admit. They're neither um, they're certainly not penalized, but I would also say in general, they're not going to get more aid than they would have. We're not going to treat direct admission students better, certainly not going to treat them worse as far as that's concerned. But to the extent that Regis has a need-based financial aid budget, in addition to the merit scholarships, students who are admitted through direct admission are going to get the financial aid that they'd be entitled to based on their eligibility when we actually start to see FAFSA data. So yes, this is an interesting year to have this going on, because there's so much uncertainty around families getting to bottom line cost. And again, as we turn the corner to March 1, we know that we're at least 2 weeks or so away from the start of data flowing from the federal government to colleges and universities. And then we need time to actually assess that data, make sure our systems and our packaging is working properly. So students are definitely going to be getting need-based aid in a later time frame this year than in prior years. But our message to our admits is simply, be sure to apply. You should not be delaying applying for financial aid because of what you're hearing. Get your application into the process so your colleges and universities can get it as soon as possible. And we've just simply said that, look, our funding is ready. there's no deadlines this year for financial aid. Apply as soon as you can. But when we get your information, we're going to provide you with the right amount of financial aid based on your eligibility, not based on when we got your information. There is no late penalty in financial aid world this year for us, and I'm sure that's the case, for most other institutions as well.
I have one more kind of wonky question before we move on, and that is, there are different timelines for applications as regular decision, as early action, early decision, and whatnot. When do these notifications go out to the direct admitted students?
It's a rolling basis. So in the Common App did two large chunks, kind of around like the idea of early action and regular decision.
Mhm.
So the first wave went out I think it was right around November 1 that Common App made notifications to students with Common App accounts. So in Massachusetts, I believe there are 7 institutions that are in the pilot program in Massachusetts. So based on the criteria we set in early November, students got notification that Regis and perhaps some other schools were direct admitting them. And then the Common App did a second batch in mid-January or so. So they kind of followed more like that traditional early action regular decision. Niche and EAB Concourse are both more of a rolling basis. So so they're kind of, as students create profiles in those platforms, new students might meet the criteria all the time. And so we might get an EAB Concourse list once a month. We might get a niche list every week or every 2 weeks based on students who've entered that platform. And of course, like the traditional admission cycle itself, fewer seniors are entering that platform now. Now they're starting to get more sophomores and juniors starting their search, and that process will start again in the fall as far as that's concerned. So it's more of a rolling admission kind of thing. We got a roster from Niche today that had a handful more students in it who were direct admit eligible as far as that's concerned. But that volume is also trickling off because we're now later in the senior year.
If you had a message for a student who did receive a direct admission notice and they're unsure of whether they want to proceed or not, maybe they're a little skeptical, because I don't know if that's ever a common reaction for students to have. What would you counsel that student to do or to keep in mind, or where to go from there?
It's not a scam. And I think, in an electronic world, when an email comes that sounds too good to believe, you tend to believe it's too good to believe, right? But direct
Yeah.
admission is a real thing. And I think it will grow as some of these pilot programs, if institutions find value, then it's going to grow, I think, as far as that's concerned. So first of all, if you see direct admission, do not think it's a game. It's a real opportunity. And I think I think that's the key word, is opportunity, because if you get an email from the Common App that says that Regis College is interested in you, and you've never paid attention to Regis, and you want to be a nurse or you want to be in dental hygiene, it's worth your while to click and learn more. And it certainly has the potential to be the right academic fit, because we've already sort of pre-screened you based on the criteria we set. So I think from a student perspective, the key word is opportunity. Learn. If the school you haven't heard of, it's worth a couple of clicks to see if by location, by size, by program, it's a school that could be a fit for you. It's going to be a relatively easy process to complete the steps to get that formal admission and get into the, get your formal scholarship amount, and of course move into the need-based part as well as far as that's concerned. So be inquisitive, take advantage of these opportunities. Colleges, universities, since the dawn of email, have searched students in a traditional sort of, reaching out to sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Hey, learn about my school. That's going to continue, but a direct admission offer is validating to the student, and is it's sort of an already a pre-fit sort of indication that this college knows you've got what you need, you've got the grades, you've got the background necessary to succeed in our program. We invite you to learn more. And so that's, I think, the most important component. And I would also say as well, and this is really important, I don't believe, because I wouldn't have invested Regis's time in this if I thought that we were in essence watering down academic quality. Where I started in terms of setting criteria, This is not open enrollment. We're not sending this blindly to just simply create interest. That each school sets criteria that matches, comfortable admission policies in terms of GPA expectation, curriculum expectation, as far as that's concerned. And so you also shouldn't look down at a school that does this as, they're not selective. Well, selective is a relative term. If we select the right criteria to reach out, then that idea of right fit student, academically prepared student, is the most important component. And I don't think it says something negative about an institution that is looking for new ways to identify students who might not otherwise know about them.
No, I agree 100%, and I wish you the best of luck in everything that you're doing, and hopefully you'll come back next year and talk to us about what a great success it's been.
I'd love to.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for the time today. I appreciated the conversation.
All right, thank you, Chris. I really enjoyed that. And folks, if you liked what you heard today and you want to know more from MIFA about planning, saving, and paying for college and career readiness, well, then you can follow the show. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And please remember to review us. It helps us to keep doing what we're doing and getting the show out to folks. I want to thank Sean Connolly, our producer. I want to thank AJ Yee, Lauren Dans, and Lisa Rooney for their assistance in posting the show. Once again, my name is Jonathan Hughes, and this has been the MIFA Podcast. Thanks.